It's the DOGE ultimatum. Elon Musk emailing over 2 million federal workers with this subject line: "What did you do last week?" It simply asks them to list 5 things they accomplished at work and says not replying by midnight tonight would be taken as a resignation. However, Fox News can confirm that the Office of Personnel Management has told agency heads that they don't need to fire people who don't reply to the 5 things emails, and that the administration will work with the individual departments. And while that all gets sorted out, President Trump is gladly backing up the DOGE mail by posting SpongeBob memes and doubling down at the White House.
I thought it was great because we have people that don't show up to work and nobody even knows if they work for the government. So by asking the question, tell us what you did this week, what he's doing is saying, are you actually working? And then if you don't answer, like you're sort of semi-fired or you're fired, because a lot of people are not answering because they don't even exist. They're trying to find, that's how badly various parts of our government were run by, and especially by this last group.
Musk is also brushing off the backlash, saying this email is a very basic pulse check. But of course, there is outrage. Democratic Senator Tina Smith calling Musk a bad boss and using some salty words to say it. And others in the press were equally outraged.
Elon Musk has zero legal authority to fire government employees or force their resignations. These people don't report to Elon Musk.
This nonsensical email from Elon Musk acting like we're in kindergarten.
It's like an own the libs, make you cry more sort of environment, right? Where both Trump and Musk are performing for the MAGA base.
The new Trump administration is reveling in its bare knuckle approach to governing.
This is so sloppy with the way Elon Musk is handling this.
All right. So earlier today, Greg, the Harvard-Harris poll came out and said 76% of Americans support what DOGE is trying to do, asking people to show their work. The American Federation of Government Employees, that's the union, said that the email was cruel and disrespectful. What say you?
First of all, Jen Psaki, Michael Steele, you're not outraged that your coworkers just got doged. I mean, you just lost Joy Reid, Jonathan Capehart, Katie Fang. Who else did they?
Alexis Wagner.
Alexis Wagner. They all went over, but that's okay.
Really?
That's okay because in the media you never talk about that, do you? The thing is, this was obviously the email was just a test to see if you still exist. You know, this is what you do for the George Costanzas, you know, the people that maintain a position but not a presence. So it's a bureaucratic bird call. And I've had to clean house a couple of times when I was an editor, and you always start with the outside in, and you have to do things in a big way. And when you listen to these criticisms, it sounds exactly like what they said about the border. When we were in crisis at the border, there was nothing you could do about it. Oh, you can do the little things, but you can't do the big thing, seal the border, because it's too mean, it's too heartless, it's too insensitive, it doesn't show any empathy. And if you cast a wide net, whether it's DOGE or the border, you're always going to get the wrong people. But that's the argument whenever you're dealing with excess. Whenever you need to cut and you know the company's in trouble, they will always try to stop it by using that argument that it's inhumane. But the only approach to reforming a bloated system is cutting it quick and cutting it fast. And if you make mistakes and it's messy, at least you can rectify it. It's not like releasing violent felons into the general population who then kill people, or letting your troops die in a chaotic withdrawal from a foreign country. Bureaucracy is actually an area where you don't need a scalpel. In fact, a scalpel cannot keep up with the growth of bureaucracy. You need a chainsaw, you need an axe, especially when it's this dire and the people in the media and the politicians aren't telling you how bad it really is.
And it was Milei, the president of Argentina, who gave Elon Musk that chainsaw. What he did when he first came in, their government was a lot bigger than ours even, and it was a little crazy. He just axed, I think, all of a sudden, in one fell swoop, 18 departments were out the door. A lot of people in the private sector, Jesse, might be have empathy for people losing their jobs, but might be rolling their eyes at the suggestion that it would be cruel and disrespectful to ask for just a little update on what you did last week.
I updated everybody on what I did last week.
Oh, okay.
Here's are my 5 bullet points. I had a pretty good week.
Yeah.
I worked on a federal holiday when everybody else stayed home.
Wow.
When
that counts as 2 then.
I made a brilliant and persuasive argument for DOGE dividend checks.
Not persuaded.
Cha-ching! I annihilated Jessica. Audience loved it. Ratings soared. I hawked Fox merch.
You did.
Shamelessly, but effectively.
That'll buy you a year.
And it increased revenues here, $150,000. I also hiked home on Friday to save the company money on car services. I actually didn't do that. But this is what he's doing is no different than what generals do, CEOs. Ben Franklin, what did he say? What have you done to make yourself better today? What did you do to make your organization better today? So when I see a request like this, I'm inspired. Other people felt like it was demeaning. And if you think an email like this is demeaning, you're part of the problem. Because if you don't think you have to justify your job and you think you're entitled to your job, then that's why we need an attitude adjustment. This is what this was. This is an attitude adjustment. People need to be reminded that they're public servants. They serve the public. They're not there to serve themselves from the public piggy bank. Now, the fact that they're circling the wagons around these bureaucrats, it's infantilizing them. Like, you can't fire them. You can't email them. You can't make them come to work. This is like when Uncle Tony gives his dumb cousin a job at the dock that he doesn't have to show up for. He gets 6 figures, no paid job, but you can't talk to Tony. You can't email Tony. You can't answer. No one can say anything to Tony. He's privileged. And now bureaucrats have more special protections than the trans community did at its heyday.
What do you think about that Tony analogy, Jessica?
I get it. I know about Tony's nephew and how that happens. I just don't think it's applicable to what's going on here. And you would know that what Elon Musk did, this directive, was a good approach to it if everyone had gone along with it. But you saw all of these Trump cabinet appointees who instructed their bureaucracies not to respond. Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, the State Department all said, don't worry, if you saw that email, don't say anything. So if it is going to save America, why don't the rest of the people that Donald Trump loves think that it's a good idea?
Well, if you're in the Pentagon, you can't Elon Musk
Elon
email
Musk
him and say, oh, I staged a coup in Cambodia last week.
But that's an argument for Elon Musk taking a breather before he sends an email like that to millions of people and say, oh, maybe folks who work on classified information can't respond to this right away. Or maybe a federal judge who's going to get this email Saturday night or whatever isn't going to be able to talk about privileged information that's going on in their courtrooms, for instance.
I might just write back and say, see me, if that were. That's a good one.
I'll
see
get
me.
back to you.
Especially people who want to curry favor with Elon and the rest of the DOGE department. Of course, they're going to say, see me, because they want a little bit of FaceTime. I don't think this is the worst thing in the world. And I'm sure there will be other instances where lines will be crossed. The sky will feel like it's falling. This is not the time to ring the alarm and say that we just went from orange to red. We're not quite there yet because, in the great words of Socrates, as written by Plato, the unexamined life is not worth living. And I would argue that there are a lot of government employees who've not been forced to examine their work because they do have a sense of entitlement. So if you have to sit there and figure out 5 things you did last week, 2 things can happen. 1, you're completely worthless and you shouldn't be on the government teat and you should be relieved of duty because you're wasting taxpayer money. Or you're going to come up with a list that is so impressive that people will take notice. And those are the kind of people that we have to have left running government because there are critical aspects that have to be staffed. And I'd much rather they be staffed by people who are competent, hardworking, and not a bunch of fuss budget pearl clutchers.
Fuss budget pearl clutchers.
It might be the first time I ever said on the 5.
Do you ever, I always wonder, and then I'll shut up, how do Democrats think businesses work?
They don't think.
I think it's like I think they take it from romantic comedies, like a woman running a small boutique with carefully curated decorative pots and alpaca throws, and everything is just designed delightfully with a scalpel.
You think Bill Gates doesn't know how to run a business? Or Warren Buffett doesn't know how to run a business? Come on.
I didn't say that.
Well, but you're asking about if Democrats know how this stuff works. We're
But
either
they decide
liberal
not to-
elitists that
but
have
they
too much
decide not
money
to run for
work.
office. No, there was nobody in the White. Well, I shouldn't say nobody.
I'm talking.
But
I meant bureaucrats. You're right.
Biden, Kamala Harris, they never worked in the private sector.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In your
All right,
face,
up
Jessica.
next.